Some breaking news over at Dawg Post. Kirby Smart, the Georgia Bulldogs, may be in Florida at the SEC meetings, but they're about to ramp up recruiting. Got a big commitment today from Ryan Mosley over in Carrollton, a wide receiver who is one of the better receivers in the South. Now, I think it's a really big get for the Dawgs. Here's what Matt DeBerry, who talked with Ryan earlier today, had to say. He said, everyone is clear. This is the reason why he picked Georgia over Carolina, Auburn, Florida State, and some others. He said, everyone is close at Georgia, and it's a real true brotherhood there. He goes on to say, their message to me, it was, this is where home is, and they made me feel that, way too. Georgia's special because since I was a little boy, I've always loved Georgia, and to get the opportunity to play with them is a huge blessing. So a big deal for Ryan Mosley personally to commit to Georgia. I mean, it's a big pickup for the Dawgs. This is a time of year where recruiting, certainly, the way that the recruiting has changed with the calendar. This used to be one of the quietest parts of the years, but this is the busiest right now. And we're going into a huge weekend at Georgia in terms of what's going on. I mean, Matt's got a very lengthy visitor weekend, official visitor weekend story here. I would take advantage of an offer we've got for y'all right now, and that is this: because we're going into recruiting, we've got a great offer. Here it is. I want to put the link to this at the bottom of the screen. You can get 3 months of Dawg Post and the preview edition I've been talking about. If you sign up today, you've got to use the link that I've got down below. This is not an offer that we're going to have forever. I'm only going to talk about it every now and then, but you get, as you can see on the screen, 3 months of Dawg Post for the price of one. You pay for your subscription today. You get the next 3 months for free, and you get the magazine delivered to you. Please take advantage of this. Again, I can only do this as long as I've got the magazines, and they're selling pretty quick. So the time is now. It's that moment in the season where, there's a lot. It feels like the fall is far away because we're about to get into June. But this is really a very busy time of the year at, everywhere. But I think the thing with Mosley committing to Georgia is that, you're starting to see that this recruiting class is coming together. So not that long ago, the consensus was that Georgia was in the top 30, 35, whatever it was. Now they're in the top 15. I think it's top 10 in some services. But, this is – they've only got 10 commits. I mean, most people that are in front of them, with the exception of LSU, have more commitments than that. Everybody else got 15 commitments. SC's got 16. Notre Dame's got SC's got 26. Notre Dame's got 16. And I know these recruits are fluid, but you get the kid from Houston coming in. You've got it's just I think it's starting to look like a very good class. Now, the upper echelon of it is not where you necessarily want to be, but it can get there for sure. I think Mosley is a good player, and that receiver, we just don't yet know how great. Sometimes it's obvious, but Kirby and them have shown with receivers, with A.D. Mitchell, with Ladd McConkey, they can spot gems that other people are missing out on. But, you start with Curtis. You've got Smith from Houston. It's starting to get there. So a couple of top 100 kids, and, of course, they'll be on it with a slew of different players nationally. They got 3 receivers committed already. So a spot that has been, I would say, jumpy for Georgia. Now we're seeing that James Coley is back in town and doing all he can do through the portal starting. But there's got to be better production on the field from the receivers. That starts with recruiting, but if you can get it through the portal, that works as well. Look, I think whenever you get a commitment, it's a big deal. It's a big deal for that player. It's a big deal for the school as well. But at the end of the day, it's hard to know if these players will wind up at Georgia. My suspicion is that the way that Mosley is, that will be the case. we also are entering a new time in college. The calendar is going to turn over here in about 6 weeks. 4 weeks. 4.5 weeks. And when that happens, you're going to see a college football where there's going to be a few things put in place that have not been in place here lately. And I think for me, that will settle down sort of some of the stupidity that's been swirling about the last sort of half decade. Stupidity is a strong word. I think NIL is a good thing. I think players getting paid for working is a good thing. I think the portal is a real, for me, a challenging thing to, they've got to get that under control. And then we're going to see if the SEC goes to 9 games. That will be completely dependent on playoff expansion and the amount of bids that are available out there. But, you know, all recruiting's changed, no question, right? There's no question that recruiting has changed. But you still have to recruit. And that the calendar has changed, that you can pay players, that's certainly changed above the table. There's, in a way, there's sort of a weird transparency to it that we didn't have in the past with the payments. But the portal is a challenging thing, and we don't ever know if Mosley will be, how long he'll be at Georgia if he goes. And I'm just using him because he's committed today, but that's the hard part for Kirby and them. But it is a good start to, we're going to see this recruiting class really come to form over the next, I would say, 6.5, 7 weeks, just going into media days. We are not that far from college football, to be honest with you. I mean, we're within 100 days. Late August is not that far away. You essentially have to get through these next 2 months. I would say these next 6 weeks until media days. Then all this the talk begins. The calm before the storm is the 4th of July, but we will definitely have a big rush into this season because no one knows who's going to win this thing. It's a very open season. There's not an obvious team like Oklahoma City in the NBA or perhaps, the Chiefs and the Eagles in the NFL or Ohio State last year. There's not an obvious team. And Georgia, just, checking on BetMGM, as we do from time to time, they are still one of the favorites to win this thing. And I think, that's the part. As we get closer and closer to the season, that's the part to pay attention to is, has anyone changed their mind about, who they think is going to win the national championship? The answer to that is no. And then how long, let's see, Georgia's at, so Ohio State's at plus 500 on BetMGM. Texas is at they're both at plus 500. And then Georgia's at plus 650. So not terribly far apart from one another. In the grand scheme of things. I think the curious thing, so I think Texas is the best team, but I think that they have to play both Ohio State and Georgia on the road is a curious conundrum. But you basically have 5 teams, Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Penn State, and Oregon. Those are the ones people are going to keep an eye on. So 3 Big Tens and 2 SECs. And the 2 SECs, Texas got, Georgia had a really tough schedule last year. This year, Texas has a really tough schedule. Got to go to Ohio State. Got to go to Georgia. They host Texas A&M. They got to go. I think they got to go to the Swamp. It's a tricky, thing for them. And you got that opener with Clemson and LSU, and then Notre Dame goes to Miami. It's a fun start to the season. In a way, you wish that Georgia were playing a bigger game, but they'll get their chance to do that when they play up at Neyland. Take advantage of that that really awesome offer we've got, 3 months for the price of 1 with the magazine. I've got the link for that down below. But Mosley from Carrollton, and that's the other thing too. Carrollton is a completely very serious program about football and about athletics. I've been to Carrollton many times. They know exactly what they're doing. They're investing in their kids, the youth down there. There's a lot to do at Carrollton High School. And here you've got a player that is going to be coached well. You know that they take things seriously at Carrollton. and a third wide receiver for Georgia in this class. They need receivers. They need productive receivers. Is he a guy that Georgia has gotten who's slipping through the cracks like they did with Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, etc.? I don't know. But we think he's pretty good. So we'll just see how this progresses. Thanks for watching.